This section is titled Order of Operations. And what that means is if I am given this super messy expression and I'm asked to simplify it, there is an order in which I am to do each operation. There's an order in which I am to do each operation. And you'll see in this table here, this dictates which operation comes first. So let's break this down. And I'm hoping that you see in that first column, PEMDAS, PEMDAS. And that's to help us, it's the mnemonic device that helps us remember what's the first thing that I do. So here we go. Let's start with the P in PEMDAS. And this is a little bit sketchy. The P stands for parentheses. But guess what? It can be any kind of grouping. So that tells me anything in an expression that's in parentheses, like maybe this, that means do me first. I go first. So just so that it's clear, parentheses looks like they look like so, but our grouping could take on our brackets, for example. They could be grouped under, so if I had 2 and 7 under a radical, that, because they're both under there, that's a grouping. That is something I would do first. If I had the absolute value of 2 and 7, same. And lastly, just so that it's clear, if I had something that looked like this, for example, where I have 2 plus 7, and then all of it is divided by 1 plus 4, then I treat this as one entity, and then I treat this as the second entity, and then I would take the ratio of those two numbers. So that would be the first of our operations. First thing we do is the grouping, the parentheses. Then we get to the E in our PEMDAS. E stands for exponents. So going back up here, I see this exponent. That's the second thing I would do. I'm gonna start cleaning some stuff up. That's the second thing I would do, is I would go straight to the exponents. Now let's look. You'll notice for these last two, they're in the same cell, right? And it's because we do multiplication and or division like we read in English. We go left to right. So if those operations are performed in the same expression, then I just go left to right, like I'm reading. I'm going to multiply if that's the first thing that I do, and then if it's followed by division, then that's going to be the second thing I do, just like we're reading. And then the last two that end our order of operations are addition and subtraction, also in the same cell, and also we treat that like we would in reading. We go left to right and we perform those operations in that order. So PEMDAS, you may have seen people refer to as please, that's the P, excuse, the E from exponents, my, multiplication, and dear, division, A, addition, S, subtraction. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Okay, so what I'd like to do are just a couple of quick problems with you so that we can get this down. And then you're going to also use Desmos for this, but you're going to need to know how to do them all. Let's work on this example together. Let's look at question 2, because that one looks similar to the one that we did before. Um, let's look at question 2. So the first thing we're doing, there's my PEMDAS, is we're looking for anything in parentheses. Oh, we've got some groupings. And what happens when we've got multiple groupings? Well, we go inside and then out. We work inside, out. So the first thing we're going to do is rewrite all of this until I get to, there it is, right there, the inside of our work. And that is 2 and 5, 7. and drag it all down. Okay, do we still have grouping? Yes, yes we do. So that's our next step, is now we look in here and I'm focused on 6 squared minus 3 times 7, just that inside. And so which of those operations am I going to do next? Yes, I'm on the E, I'm on the exponents. So inside I have 36 minus, I'm just going to write it just so that it's clear. Drag it, drag it, drag it down. So here I am. 36 minus, now I'm taking the product of 3 and 7, and I'm bringing everything down with me. So far, so good. Now I have to take 36 minus 21. 21 from 36 is 15. Divided by 8 plus 3. Oh boy, what's 15 times 8? 120. So now and why did I do that first? I did that because I now have multiplication followed by division. So 120, drag, 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 and then 120 divided by 8. Oh, well, I just did 15 times 8 is 120. So look at that. So I'm back to 15 plus 3, and we're at 8. So we get 18, and we know if we are to type this all in, all right, folks, I want us to take note of just the way that Desmos has this expressed and the way that we have it written out. It looks a little bit different, mainly because of the division right here, whereas and in the Desmos, they write it in fraction form. But we know that that's the same idea. I strongly recommend you do a few of these so that you know in terms of the parentheses and getting out of the fractions that you're successfully writing these out. One small thing I want to really emphasize here are the two examples. I'm not even going to start with that. These two examples. I have this situation, and then I have this situation, and I still have my PEMDAS. All right, let's take note, folks. I'm put a big red star here. Oh no. Oh, okay, whatever. When I look at scenario number 1, I can see the parentheses, right? The parentheses are really telling me in this situation what value is being squared. What number are we squaring, folks? Yes, we're squaring -3. Remember, that's the same thing as -3 times -3. And I know a negative times a negative is a positive, and 3 times 3 is 9. This results in 9. Now, let's look at the second one. If I'm following my order of operations, I don't see any grouping. I see an exponent, and then from there, I see just a negative sign. It's not subtraction because there's no other term in front of it. But then I see a negative sign. This, folks, this is telling me take 3 and square it. Next, negate it. And that gives us -9. And let's verify with Desmos. And you'll notice, even with our Desmos, when it's -3 in parentheses squared, it's 9, whereas -3 squared is -9. The last one I think I wanted to do with you all before you have at your homework is to look at a question like 8. So this is one where we plug and then process. So I'm still tacking down my PEMDAS. And I'm looking at this expression, and I'm asked to evaluate it when x is 4 and y is -1. So people, I have x cubed, and I'm replacing x with 4. So I'm going to put that in parentheses because I know that my 4 is, I'm going to put that everywhere where there's an x. Now, y is -1, and that's being cubed as well. And so I put the -1, all of it is being cubed, right? So it should look just like that. Then I have x squared, so that looks like so, that quantity 4 squared minus, and then my y is -1, and I have it squared, and it looks like so. So let's go to work on this. So using Desmos, we can do it. What's 4 to the third? That's 4 times 4 times 4, so that gives me 64. Let's look at -1 cubed. Remember, that's -1 times -1 times -1. And a negative times a negative is a positive, but then a positive times a negative is a negative. So then that's plus -1, and I can write that as 64 minus 1 if I'd like, over, and now I'm going to do the same thing for the denominator. So let's see what that looks like. So 4 squared is 16, so that's all in the denominator, minus, now -1 squared is -1 times -1, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So, but let's be mindful. So it's 16 minus, and then this becomes +1. So that looks like it gives us 64 minus 1 is 63 over 16 minus 1 is 15. And I think 63/15 simplifies maybe by a factor of 3. You can probably put that into Desmos. And we've got 21/5.
Parentheses first, exponents next. Multiplication and division in the same step. Addition and subtraction, if you got the nerve. From left to right, first come, first serve. Parentheses first, 2 times 4, the product's 8. Are you ready for more? Exponents next, 2 squared is 4. Let's move down like we did before. Time to divide or multiply. Let's see what we got. Take a look at the signs. Divide the 8 by the 2. The quotient's 4 and we're almost through. It's finally time to add or subtract. 8's the answer and that's a fact.
Turn that down!
Parentheses first, exponents next. Multiplication and division in the same step. Addition and subtraction, if you got the nerve. From left to right, first come, first serve.
2!
Parentheses first, 2 times 6, the product's 12. Put it back in the mix. Exponents next, 3 squared is 9. When you know the tricks, it don't take much time. Now we divide or multiply. Let's see what we got. Take a look at the signs. 9 divided by 9 is 1. The answer's close, man. We're almost done. 4 minus 1 has a difference of 3. When we add the 12, we get 15. Parentheses first, exponents next. Multiplication and division in the same step. Addition and subtraction, if you got the nerve. From left to right, first come, first serve.